Shawn Gordon here, and for this solution, I've got something really interesting. I've long wanted to be able to read Kafka topics with DuckDB, and recently this project Quack came out, and I thought I'd give it a try and use it with WarpStream, and it works. It's very cool. So Quack is an in-memory analytics piece of software for Kafka using DuckDB. I've got the page here. I'm going to have the links in the comments. Basically, you just need to make sure you got Java 11 or higher. You download the install and unpack it, and it works. I am going to read these two topics out of WarpStream, customers and orders. I generated this sample data with ShadowTraffic, and I've got a key value that corresponds to the two. So I'll show you that with Quack, and then I'm going to export as Parquet and show you how I can read that with DuckDB, and then I'll do an export to DuckDB itself so it's an actual preserved database, and that allows you to be able to persist and work with it from whatever point in time you collected the data. Let's jump into the terminal, and I'm going to start with using a properties file. I found this to be much more convenient than doing everything on the command line. There's a few things you want to be aware of here. So topics, if you have more than one, they're comma separated. Then you got these surds key value strings, and you're just specifying what this topic is going to relate to in the value. So it's going to be a string value, and we can create a schema. And this is what that looks like. And this is what I had a little challenge with getting all of this syntax correct. It's a very new project, just came out a couple weeks ago. So I got that together. I'm going to show you what the JSON schema looks like. It's standard. Down here, the Sassel Jazz config. This was actually strangely difficult. The example shows two curly braces here, and what you want is a single quote on either side. After the username, I've got my password. Now, let's look at the schema. So here's my customer schema, real standard kind of stuff. That's real simple. And then this is my orders schema. Now, this customer ID is going to be related between the two tables, as you would normally have. So now let's jump into a console, and we're going to run this. This tells Quack. The F picks up the properties file. The -A none, this is another property that they have in the system, and that's to keep from writing the row information into the table because I don't need it for that. So you can combine using a properties file and the runtime switches, which is handy because there's things you don't necessarily want to save in the properties file. You want to switch back and forth. So we'll go ahead and run that. This will connect to the topics in WarpStream and then present them in the Quack interface, which is running DuckDB. So now we can say show tables. We see I got our customers and orders. So select star from customers, limit 5. There you go. And we'll select star from orders and limit 5. All right. So what I want to do, we see we've got this zone. So I want to accumulate the number of orders per zone. So that requires a join and a group by and all that fun stuff. Now, a fun thing here in Quack, it'll tell you what it's expecting. So I didn't have a semicolon on any of those lines. Bing. That was it. We're done. We've got an order count for every zone, and that's pretty nifty. So real quick, I'll show you the integrated help. It's bang help, all sorts of stuff here. More than I'm sure what everything does. But you can experiment and you can jump around. Lots of fun stuff there. Let's next dump the customers table to a Parquet file. So that's a copy command. Give it the format, and that's done. So let's jump over here and take a look. There's our Parquet file. Now we can go into DuckDB, and we can use their Parquet reader to do a quickie read. And there's our records. All right, so the next thing I want to do, is I want to export these as a DuckDB database. The simple way to do this is to add this D switch at the end and give it a name. So we do that. All right, so that's done. We don't need to stay in Quack. Let's come over here. Let's exit. There's our DuckDB database. And now we can say DuckDB mydb.duckdb. Up. First I have to exit over here so it's not locked. Back. And show tables. There's the customer and order table. So let's do our little, and from orders. All right, let's do our complex join again. And there it is. Pretty nifty. Just for fun, I'm going to show you Harley Quinn. If you haven't seen Harley Quinn, it's a fun little TUI interface for DuckDB. It's got my query from earlier when I was testing. Here's our database. Let's run the query. And there we go. That's it. It's just a lot of fun to be able to do this. I'm going to link everything in the video description so you'll be able to check it out and try it for yourself. And there we have it. Come on over, get your WarpStream account, and get started.